The old Millionaire's card was declined in front of everyone and people started whispering. But when the homeless boy stepped forward and did something no one expected, his hands trembled and everyone fell completely silent. Subscribe to the channel, leave your like and comment where in the world you're watching from, because now I'm going to tell you everything. The air inside the store was warm and smelled like flowers and new cloth. Eleanor Vance smoothed the silk scarf on the counter. It was the color of a gray sky. "This one, please," she said, her voice quiet. The young woman behind the counter smiled. She took Eleanor's black credit card. She swiped it. She waited. Her smile faded. She swiped it again. "I'm sorry, Mrs. Vance. It's not going through. The system says it is declined." Eleanor felt a hot wave rush up her neck to her face. "That is not possible. Try it again." "I have. 3 times. It is the bank's system. There must be a mistake." A woman standing nearby, holding a fur coat, turned her head. She looked at Eleanor's scarf. She looked at Eleanor's face. She whispered something to her friend. The friend glanced over. Their eyes were like little stones. Eleanor felt frozen. She heard the whispers grow. They were soft like the hiss of steam. Asterisk old woman. No money. Pretending. She could not move her hand to take the card back. She just stood there, feeling the eyes of everyone in the store. Her heart was a loud drum in her ears. She had millions. She had 3 houses. And here she was, red-faced and ashamed over a piece of silk. Marcus watched from near the big heater by the door. He had come in to get warm. His toes were cold inside his worn-out shoes. He saw the rich lady's proud face crumple. He saw the other rich people watching her, enjoying her trouble. His stomach tightened. He knew that feeling, the feeling of everyone thinking you are nothing. Without thinking, his feet moved. He walked across the soft carpet. His dirty jacket felt huge in the bright, clean store. He came to the counter, right next to the frozen lady. He had to look up to see the clerk. His small hands were shaking. He reached into his deep pocket. He pulled out his money. It was a single, crumpled bill. It was warm and damp from his hand. He put it on the smooth, cold counter next to the scarf. "To help," he whispered. His voice was so quiet, only the clerk and the old lady heard it. It was a $5 bill. It was all the money he had in the whole world. The store went completely, utterly silent. The whispering stopped. The woman with the fur coat stared, her mouth open a little. Eleanor looked down. She saw the boy's messy dark hair. She saw his thin neck. She saw the serious, scared look in his big eyes as he stared at his money on the counter. He did not look at her. A pain stabbed Eleanor in the chest. It was so sharp it took her breath away. This boy, with his old clothes and his thin face, had given everything he had. For her, a stranger. She, who wrote checks for thousands of dollars without blinking, had never once been so brave. She had never been so kind. The clerk finally moved. "Young man, you don't have to." Eleanor found her voice. It sounded strange to her. "No." She placed her own hand on the counter, near his small, dirty one. She looked at the boy. "Thank you." She picked up the $5 bill. She folded it carefully and put it in his palm, closing his fingers around it. Then she opened her purse. She took out a different card, a simple blue one. She gave it to the clerk. "Use this, please." The transaction went through without a sound. The clerk put the scarf in a bag. Eleanor took the bag. Then she looked at the boy. He was shrinking back, as if he wanted to disappear. "What is your name?" she asked. "Marcus," he said, looking at his shoes. "My name is Eleanor. Marcus, are you hungry?" He nodded slowly once, still not looking up. "I would like to buy you a hot meal. Will you let me do that? To help?" He finally looked at her face. He was checking her eyes, looking for a trick. He saw only the wet shine of her own shame and a new, soft sadness. After a long moment, he gave a small nod. Eleanor Vance, one of the richest people in Chicago, walked out of the store with a homeless boy. The people inside watched them go, their earlier whispers dead in their throats. The only sound was the rush of cold wind as the door closed behind them. The wind on Michigan Avenue was a sharp slap after the store's warmth. Eleanor pulled her coat tight. Marcus walked beside her, a half step behind, his head down against the cold. "There is a place near here," Eleanor said. "It is warm, and the soup is good." Marcus just nodded. He kept his hands shoved deep in his pockets. He was watching the ground, the cracks in the sidewalk. They walked a block in silence. Eleanor did not know what to say. She pointed to a door with a simple sign, "Here." Inside, the air was steamy and smelled of bread. It was a quiet restaurant with wooden tables. A few people looked up. Their eyes lingered on Marcus's old coat, then flicked to Eleanor's fine wool. She ignored them. She chose a table in the back. A waitress brought menus. Eleanor opened hers. Marcus sat very still, his hands on his lap. "Order anything you like," Eleanor said. He glanced at the menu but did not touch it. "Soup is okay," he murmured. "Would you like a sandwich with it? Or chicken?" He shook his head. "Just soup, please." When the waitress came, Eleanor ordered soup for Marcus and tea for herself. The boy sat straight, not leaning back in his chair. His eyes moved around the room, noting the door to the kitchen, the front exit, the people. "You were very kind in the store, Marcus," Eleanor began. "Thank you again." He shrugged, looking at the table. "It was nothing." "It was not nothing. It was everything." She paused. Do you live near here?" He was silent for a long time. The soup arrived, a big bowl, steaming. He looked at it like it was a puzzle. Then he picked up the spoon. He ate carefully, without making a sound, but he ate fast. "Sometimes," he finally said, between spoonfuls. "The shelter is near, sometimes." "You stay at a shelter?" He nodded, his eyes on the bowl. "When it's real cold, or when they have beds. But it's loud. People fight." He didn't say he was scared, but Eleanor heard it. "Where do you go when it's not the shelter?" Another shrug. "Around. Libraries are good. They're warm and quiet." Eleanor sipped her tea. Her heart felt too big for her chest. "Are you alone?" Marcus stopped eating. He put his spoon down. He looked at her, his face serious. "I got my sister, Lily. She's 7. "Where is Lily right now?" "At the library. The big one. She likes the kids' corner. She waits for me there. It's safe." He said it like it was a rule he had memorized. "And your parents?" His whole body went stiff. "Our mom is gone. A long time now." His voice was a flat whisper. "It's just me and Lily." The words hung in the air. Asterisk. Just me and Lily. A 10-year-old boy taking care of a 7-year-old girl, in the cold. Eleanor's hand trembled as she set her cup down. She thought of her big, empty house, the silent rooms, the meals eaten alone. A crazy, wild thought bloomed in her mind. It was not a thought formed from budgets or social rules. It came from that sharp pain she felt in the store. "Marcus," she said, her voice firmer than she felt. "Take me to Lily. Take me to the library." His eyes widened with instant fear. "Why?" "I want to meet her. I want to see that she is okay." He shook his head hard. "No, she's shy. She doesn't talk to strangers. I will not frighten her. I promise. Please." He stared at her, searching for a trap. He saw the old lady from the store, the one who was ashamed. Now she just looked determined and sad. "Okay," he whispered, but it sounded like a surrender. "But you gotta be quiet." They left the restaurant. Marcus led the way, walking quickly. The huge stone library was warm and hushed. He took her to the children's section, a bright area with small chairs and low shelves. He pointed to a corner. A little girl sat on the floor, her back against a shelf of picture books. She had long braids and was holding a ragged stuffed rabbit. She was drawing on a scrap of paper. "That's Lily," Marcus said, his voice softening for the first time. Eleanor watched her. The girl was so small, so still. She did not look up. They walked over. Marcus knelt down. "Lily, it's me." The girl looked up. Her eyes, the same brown as her brother's, found his face and calmed. Then she saw Eleanor, and she pressed herself closer to the bookshelf, pulling her rabbit tight. "This is the lady from the store," Marcus said softly. "She's okay. She bought me soup." Eleanor slowly, carefully lowered herself to sit on the floor too. It was difficult and her knees ached. She did not try to touch Lily. She just sat there on the clean library carpet in her expensive coat. "Hello, Lily," she said, her voice very gentle. "My name is Eleanor. You have a very nice rabbit." Lily stared at her. She did not speak. Eleanor took a deep breath. She looked at Marcus, then back at the silent little girl. She spoke the crazy thought out loud. I have a very big, very warm house. It has too many rooms. It is too quiet. Her words were simple, plain. I would like you and Marcus to come live there with me. You would have your own beds. There will always be food. You will be safe. Marcus's mouth fell open. Live? With you? Yes, both of you, as my family. You don't know us, he said, his voice tight with disbelief. I know that you are a good brother. I know you are both alone, and I am very alone too. She looked at Lily. Will you come? We can go right now. Lily looked at Marcus. Her whole face was a question. Marcus's mind was racing. This was a trap. It had to be. But the lady had fed him. She was sitting on the floor. She said the house was warm. He thought of another night in the shelter, of Lily's cold hands. He gave his sister a tiny, hesitant nod. Eleanor stood up, holding a shelf for support. She held out her hand, not to take Lily's, but as an offer. Shall we go home? After a long moment, Marcus took Lily's hand. Together they followed the tall, silver-haired woman out of the library, away from the warm corner that was never theirs, and into the waiting car. The huge, quiet house was about to hear the sound of small, unsure footsteps. The car stopped in front of a giant stone house. Marcus held Lily's hand tight as they stared up at it. It looked like a museum or a castle from a book. Eleanor led them up the steps and opened the big front door. Warm air rushed out. The inside was even bigger than the outside. The ceiling was high. Everything was shiny and quiet. Their footsteps on the floor made a loud echo. This is the front hall, Eleanor said. Her voice sounded small in the big space. Lily hid behind Marcus, pressing her face into his coat. Come, I will show you your rooms, Eleanor said. She took them up a wide, curving staircase. She opened a door to a room with a huge bed, a soft carpet, and big windows. This can be for you, Marcus. She opened the next door. It was a similar room, with light yellow walls. And this for Lily. Marcus looked inside Lily's room, then back at his own. We stay together, he said, his voice firm. Eleanor paused. Oh, of course. You can both use this one. The big bed is large enough. She left them there, closing the door softly. Marcus and Lily stood in the middle of the enormous room. They did not move. It's too quiet, Marcus whispered. Lily nodded, her eyes wide. She pointed to the bed. I know, it's like a cloud. It's not right. He walked to the window and looked down at the dark garden. But it's warm, and she has food. Later, Eleanor called them down for dinner. The dining table was so long you could have fit 20 people. They sat at one end. A woman named Maria had cooked roasted chicken, potatoes, and green beans. There was more food on the table than Marcus had seen in months. He ate slowly at first, then faster. Lily picked at her food. She ate only the potatoes. Is the food all right, Lily? Eleanor asked. Lily looked down at her plate and did not answer. She likes it, Marcus said quickly. She's just shy. After dinner, Eleanor showed them the kitchen. You may have anything you like to eat. Whenever you are hungry, there is no need to ask. Marcus just nodded. But when Maria wasn't looking, he took 2 dinner rolls from the basket. He hid them in the pockets of his new pants. That night, in their big room, Marcus waited until the house was completely silent. He got out of bed. He took the rolls from his pocket. He looked around. He opened the drawer of the big dresser. He put the rolls inside, under a stack of soft, new sweaters Eleanor had bought them. What are you doing? A tiny voice whispered. He turned. Lily was sitting up in bed, watching him. Just putting stuff away, he said. You're hiding food, she whispered. It wasn't a question. He walked back to the bed and sat down. Yeah, in case it's not real. In case we have to leave fast, so we have something. Lily thought about this. Then she slid out of bed. She went to her small bag, the only thing they brought. She took out her old stuffed rabbit. She went to the dresser, opened a different drawer, and placed the rabbit inside. Then she closed it. She looked at Marcus. It made sense to her. You hide the things you need. The next morning, Eleanor tried again. She had new clothes delivered. Nice pants, shirts, a pretty dress for Lily. She laid them out on the bed. These are for you, to wear. Marcus touched a shirt. It was soft. He had never had a new shirt, but it felt strange, like a costume. "Thank you," he said, because it was the right thing to say. Lily looked at the dress and shook her head. She pointed to her old pants and sweater, which were now clean. "She wants to wear her own clothes," Marcus explained. "But they are so old," Eleanor said, confused. "They're hers," Marcus said simply. Eleanor did not argue. She saw Lily's small, stubborn face. "All right, your clothes are fine." The day was long and quiet. Eleanor did not know what to do. She was used to reading reports and talking to her lawyer. She was not used to children. She watched Marcus. He was always watching Lily. If Lily walked to the window, Marcus watched her. If a car drove past the house, Marcus put himself between Lily and the window. He was a quiet shadow, always on guard. Eleanor saw the way he had carefully folded the crust of his toast at breakfast and put it in his napkin. She knew he would hide it later. She understood then. She was buying expensive scarves and dresses, but what they needed was not for sale. They needed to know the food would still be there tomorrow. They needed to know they could stay. That evening, she did not buy them anything. She just sat in the living room in a big chair. After a while, Marcus and Lily came in. Lily sat on the very edge of the soft rug, far from Eleanor. She took out a piece of paper and a crayon from her pocket and began to draw. Marcus sat on the floor near her, his back against the sofa, watching the door. Eleanor did not speak. She just sat with them. The huge, cold, quiet house felt a little less empty. It was not yet a home, but for the first time, it was not just a museum. It was a shelter. And Eleanor was starting to see that her job was not to give them things, but to be the wall that kept the cold wind out. A few days later, the new routine was still fragile. Breakfast was quiet. Lily drew pictures. Marcus watched the windows. Eleanor tried to learn the rhythm of children, which was not a rhythm at all, but a series of small surprises. The doorbell rang in the middle of the morning. It was a sharp, loud sound they rarely heard. Maria went to answer it. Eleanor heard a familiar voice in the hall. "Where is she, Maria?" A moment later, Ethan Vance walked into the living room. He was wearing a dark coat, his hair perfect. He stopped when he saw the children. Marcus stood up quickly, moving closer to Lily on the rug. "Grandmother," Ethan said, his eyes flicking from the kids back to Eleanor. "We need to talk." "Ethan, this is Marcus and Lily. Children, this is my grandson." Marcus gave a small, stiff nod. Lily stared at her drawing. "Alone, please," Ethan said, his voice tight. Eleanor sighed. "You may go to the kitchen, children. Ask Maria for some juice." Marcus took Lily's hand and led her out, walking fast. He glanced back at Ethan once, his eyes cautious. When they were gone, Ethan didn't sit down. "What is going on? Maria told me you brought 2 children home, street children." "They are children in need of a home. I am providing one," Eleanor said, sitting straighter in her chair. "You cannot be serious." Ethan ran a hand through his hair. "You found them where? In an alley? This is a massive liability. Who are they? What do they want?" "They want a warm bed and food. They are not a liability, Ethan. They are people." "You are being naive." His voice grew louder. "This is a classic scheme. They befriend a lonely, wealthy person. They gain trust. Then comes the begging for money, for cars, for who knows what, or worse. Have you checked your jewelry?" Eleanor felt a hot anger rise in her chest. "You will not speak about them that way in this house. They have asked for nothing. They have taken nothing but the food I offered. It's only been a few days. Just wait." Ethan leaned forward. "Grandmother, listen to me. This is a mistake, a dangerous one. You are not thinking clearly. You are emotional." "For the first time in 40 years, I am," she said coldly. "And it is not a sign of weakness. It is a sign of poor judgment." He paced. "We have a name to protect, a legacy, my future. You cannot risk all of this on some sentimental whim. You need to call social services right now, have them picked up." Eleanor stood up. She was tall and she drew herself to her full height. "No." "What do you mean, no?" "I mean they are staying. They are under my care. They are my family now." Ethan laughed, a harsh, shocked sound. "Your family? They are strangers. I am your family. Then act like it." Her voice cut through the room. "Act with a shred of the compassion that boy showed me. He gave me his last $5. What have you ever given me but a balance sheet?" Ethan's face went pale, then red. I have given my life to this family, to our work, to preserving what you and grandfather built. And now you are letting two little con artists tear it down. Get out, Ethan. Grandmother, get out of my house, now. He stared at her, his jaw tight. He saw something in her eyes he had never seen before. It was not the cool, calculating look he knew. It was fire. It was stubborn, absolute resolve. Fine, he spat. But this is not over. If you will not protect yourself, I will have to do it for you. He turned and strode out of the room. A moment later, the front door slammed shut. The house was very quiet again. Eleanor's hands were trembling. She slowly sat back down. Marcus appeared in the doorway. He had heard everything. He wants to send us away. Eleanor looked at his worried face. He will try. Are you going to? Lily was behind Marcus, peering around him, her eyes huge. Eleanor looked from one small face to the other. The fear in their eyes was a real, physical thing. It was not about losing a fancy house. It was about losing the only safe corner they had found. No, she said, and her voice was steady now. No, I am not. But he is going to fight. He will use lawyers. He will try to make a judge say I am too old to make this choice. Marcus took a step into the room. What can we do? We can fight back, Eleanor said. For the first time in decades, she had something worth fighting for. It was not money. It was not a legacy of cold stone. It was the two silent, scared children in front of her. We will fight back together. The papers arrived 2 days later. A man in a suit, not Ethan, brought them to the door. Eleanor's lawyer, Franklin, came over an hour after that. He spread the documents on the large desk in her library. It's a petition, Eleanor, Franklin said, his voice tired. For a competency hearing, Ethan is asking the court to appoint a temporary guardian for you. He claims you are making reckless financial and personal decisions that endanger your estate. Eleanor looked at the dense blocks of text. Her own grandson's name was on the line that said petitioner. What does this mean exactly? It means a judge will listen to arguments. Ethan will say you are not of sound mind because you took in these children. If the judge agrees, someone else, likely Ethan, will get control of your finances and your personal decisions. Franklin glanced toward the closed library door, including where the children live. A cold knot tightened in Eleanor's stomach. He can't do this. He is doing it. The hearing is in 3 weeks. Franklin adjusted his glasses. There will be interviews. A social worker will need to speak with the children. A court doctor may want to speak with you. It will be invasive. They have been through enough, Eleanor said, her voice sharp. I know, but the court will see them as part of the evidence. We must be prepared. Later that afternoon, the social worker arrived. Her name was Miss Alvarez. She had a kind smile, but Marcus did not trust it. They sat in the living room. Eleanor stayed in her chair. Miss Alvarez sat on the sofa near Marcus and Lily. Hello, Marcus. My name is Elena. I just want to ask you a few questions, okay? About how you are doing here. Marcus nodded, his arms crossed tight over his chest. Lily pressed against his side, her face hidden. Is Mrs. Vance nice to you? Yes. Do you feel safe here? Yes. Where did you live before? Marcus's eyes flicked to Eleanor, then back to the floor. Around. Different places. Shelters? Sometimes. And your mom? Can you tell me about her? Marcus's whole body went rigid. She's gone. We don't know where. Miss Alvarez wrote something on her notepad. The sound of the pen was very loud. And you, Lily, do you like it here? Lily did not move. She did not look up. She doesn't talk, Marcus said quickly. Not to strangers. I see. Miss Alvarez wrote more. She asked more questions about food, about beds, about rules. Marcus gave short, careful answers. The whole time he felt like he was in a trap. Every word felt like it could be used to take them away. When Miss Alvarez finally left, Marcus ran upstairs to their room. He counted his hidden food, 4 rolls, 2 apples. He needed more. Downstairs, Eleanor was stressed. She talked to Franklin in a low voice in the library. They will pick apart every detail, Eleanor. Your history of isolation, their unstable past. Ethan's lawyer will paint a picture of a vulnerable woman and opportunistic strangers. They are children, Eleanor insisted, but her voice wavered. She was not used to this kind of fight. It was messy and emotional. It was about her heart, not her money. Meanwhile, across town, Ethan sat in a different office. The man across from him was named Mr. Riggs. He was a private detective. "I need you to find everything on them," Ethan said, sliding a piece of paper with the names Marcus and Lily Johnson across the desk. "School records, shelter records, anything with the mother. I want to know if they've been in trouble, theft, violence, anything. I need proof they are not these perfect little angels my grandmother thinks they are." Mr. Riggs, a man with a calm face, took the paper. "I'll see what the trail shows." "There must be something," Ethan said, more to himself than to the detective. "No one is this clean." Back in the big house, night fell. Eleanor could not sleep. She walked downstairs for a glass of water. A small light was on in the living room. Lily was there alone. She was sitting on the rug, drawing under the lamplight. She didn't hear Eleanor. Eleanor moved closer. On the paper, Lily had drawn the same picture again. A big house with many windows. A woman with long hair stood outside. Inside the house were 3 small figures, 2 smaller, one a little taller with silver scribbles for hair. Eleanor's breath caught. The woman outside. Was that their mother? And the 3 inside? Was that herself with Marcus and Lily? Lily looked up, startled. She quickly covered the drawing with her arm. "It's a beautiful picture," Eleanor said softly. She didn't ask about it. She just looked at the little girl's worried face. "You should be in bed, sweetheart." Lily slowly gathered her paper and crayon. As she passed Eleanor to go upstairs, she paused. For a second, her small hand brushed against Eleanor's robe. Then she was gone, padding silently up the steps. Eleanor stood in the quiet living room. The fight was ugly. It was public. It was frightening. But Lily's drawing showed 3 people inside the house, together. Eleanor knew, with a fierce certainty, that she had to be the wall that kept that picture safe. No matter what the court said, no matter what Ethan did. Ethan sat in his office, staring at his phone. 2 weeks had passed since he hired Mr. Riggs. The hearing was getting closer. He needed something to use. His phone buzzed. A text from the detective. "Have information. Need to meet in person." They met in a small coffee shop away from Ethan's usual places. Mr. Riggs sat down with a folder. His calm face was gone. He looked serious. "You found something," Ethan said, leaning forward. "Tell me, was it theft? Fraud?" Mr. Riggs opened the folder. He did not take out pictures. He took out a single sheet of notes. "It's not what you think, Mr. Vance. The children are not schemers. They are victims." Ethan frowned. "What does that mean?" "Start with the mother, Sarah Johnson. She worked as a waitress at a high-end restaurant downtown, the one that caters to the city's powerful people. Mr. Riggs kept his voice low. 5 months ago, she worked a private dinner in a back room. The guest of honor was a man named Thomas Kroger." Ethan knew the name. Kroger was a real estate developer. He was rich, connected, and known for being ruthless. Kroger and his guests were talking, Mr. Riggs continued. Sarah was in and out serving. She heard a specific conversation. Kroger was describing how he bribed a city official to get a building permit for a new tower. He named the official. He named the amount. It was a clear confession to a felony. Ethan's stomach felt cold. She heard it. She heard it. And one of Kroger's men saw that she heard it. She was smart. She finished her shift. She acted normal. But she went home, woke her kids, and they ran. She knew Kroger's reputation. She knew he would not let a witness live. "So where is she?" Ethan asked. "Gone. She used a fake name to get into a women's shelter in another state. She moves often. She is hiding. But here is the important part." Mr. Riggs tapped the paper. "Before she left, she took her children to the city's main family shelter. She told her son Marcus to stay there and care for his sister. She told him to never, ever tell anyone his real last name, to never talk about her, to trust no one. She left to draw the danger away from them." Ethan sat back, his mind racing. He thought of Marcus's careful eyes, his constant watch over his sister. It wasn't cunning. It was fear. Real, sharp fear. "Kroger's men are still looking," Mr. Riggs said. "They know the witness had children. They have been asking in shelters, showing a picture of Sarah. They want to find the kids to get to her, to silence her for good." The coffee shop felt too bright, too loud. Ethan's plan to find dirt on the children seemed ugly and small. Are they in danger now? At my grandmother's house?" If Kroger's people connect them to her, yes, the Vance name is public. Your grandmother's address is not a secret. If they find out Sarah Johnson's children are living with Eleanor Vance, that big house becomes a target. Ethan thought of his grandmother's stubborn face. She was not senile. She had walked 2 innocent kids into the middle of a storm, and he had tried to have her declared unfit for it. What do I do? The question was out before he could stop it. You need to tell your grandmother, now. She needs to increase security. You all need to be very careful. Mr. Riggs closed the folder. My advice? Your fight is not with that old woman or those kids. Your fight, if you choose to have it, is with Thomas Kroger. Ethan paid the detective and walked out to his car. He didn't drive, he just sat there. He saw Marcus's face in his mind, not as a schemer, but as a boy hiding bread, watching windows, protecting his sister from a monster Ethan hadn't believed was real. He had been so wrong. He had attacked the only people trying to give those children a safe harbor. The huge, quiet mansion was not just a home. It was a fortress, and his grandmother was standing on the walls alone, and he had been trying to tear it down. Ethan's car crunched up the long driveway to his grandmother's house. His hands were tight on the wheel. He had to tell her. He had to call off the lawyers. The thought of what he had set in motion made him feel sick. He rang the bell. Maria let him in, her face nervous. She's in the library, Mr. Ethan. Eleanor was at her desk. She did not look up when he entered. If you are here to serve more papers, you can leave them on the table. I'm not here for that, Ethan said. His voice sounded strange. She finally looked at him. Her face was tired, but her eyes were still sharp. Then why are you here? Before he could answer, a movement at the window caught his eye. Marcus was there, peering out through the side of the heavy curtain. The boy's body was tense, like a wire. Just then, a dark car moved slowly past the front of the house on the street. It did not stop. It just drove by, very slow. Marcus flinched. He dropped the curtain and stepped back, his eyes wide with pure fear. It was the look of an animal that has seen a predator. He wasn't acting. He wasn't scheming. He was terrified. Eleanor saw it too. Marcus, what is it? Nothing, Marcus whispered, but he was shaking. Just a car. Ethan knew. That was the look Mr. Riggs had described. The boy had seen cars like that before. He was watching for them. Ethan felt a cold shame wash over him. He had been so blind. Grandmother, Ethan said, turning to her, we need to talk, right now, and he should stay. He pointed to Marcus. Eleanor looked between her grandson's pale face and Marcus's scared one. She nodded. Marcus, come sit down. Marcus shook his head, staying by the wall. I'm okay here. Ethan took a deep breath. He told her everything. He told her about Mr. Riggs. He told her about Sarah Johnson, the waitress. He told her about Thomas Kroger and the bribe she heard. He told her about Kroger's men looking for a woman with 2 children. As he spoke, Eleanor's hand went to her throat. She looked at Marcus. Your mother, she was protecting you. Marcus just stared at the floor, his jaw clenched tight. A single nod. She told you to trust no one, Ethan said, his voice softer now. Didn't she? Marcus looked at him, surprised. He nodded again. I was wrong, Marcus, Ethan said. The words were hard to say. I thought you were trying to trick my grandmother. I did not know you were running. I did not know you were scared of a real man like Kroger. I am sorry. The room was silent. Eleanor looked at her grandson, seeing the genuine regret on his face for the first time. The court hearing, she began. I'll stop it, Ethan said quickly. I'll tell my lawyer to withdraw the petition, today. He ran a hand through his hair. But that's not enough now. Kroger is the problem. If he finds out they are here, with you, this house isn't safe. You're not just their guardian. You're a target. Eleanor stood up. She walked over to Marcus. She did not touch him. She just stood beside him, looking out the same window. Then we make it safe. We do not run. We protect what is ours. She looked at Ethan. You said you wanted to protect the family. Protect this family, not the money, these people. Ethan met her gaze. The old, cold distance between them was gone, burned away by the truth. He saw his grandmother not as a keeper of a vault, but as a general preparing for a battle. What do you need me to do? He asked. Help us find Sarah. Help us get the proof she has. Help us put Kroger away for good. Use your resources, Ethan. Not against us, for us. Ethan nodded. He pulled out his phone. His first call was to his lawyer. Franklin, it's Ethan. Drop the petition. Yes, I'm sure. Tell the court it was a misunderstanding. He hung up. Marcus watched him, his body slowly unclenching. The man who wanted to send them away was now making a call to help them stay. He didn't understand it, but he saw the determination on Eleanor's face. For the first time, he felt like the walls of the big house might be strong enough. The next morning, the big house felt different. Eleanor, Ethan, and Franklin, the lawyers, sat at the kitchen table. Maria made coffee. The mood was serious, but the anger was gone. The petition is withdrawn, Franklin said. But our new problem is much bigger. We need a plan. Ethan pulled out his phone. I have a contact at the city planning department. If Kroger bribed someone for a permit, there will be a record. A vote that didn't make sense. A project that moved too fast. Good, Eleanor said. What else? Mr. Riggs is still looking for Sarah Johnson, Ethan said. He's checking the shelters she used. She's smart. She uses different names. But she might have reached out to an old friend. I have people checking that too. Franklin made notes. We need to gather any proof she might have. A diary, a note she left. Anything that confirms what she heard. If we can find her and her evidence, we can go to the police. Eleanor looked toward the living room. Marcus and Lily were sitting on the floor, but they were listening. What about their safety here? I've hired a security firm, Ethan said. 2 men will watch the house outside, day and night. They will look like gardeners or utility workers. They will check any car that slows down. No one will get close. Eleanor gave a slow, approving nod. Thank you, Ethan. He looked down at his coffee. I should have done it sooner. After Ethan and Franklin left to work, Eleanor stayed in the kitchen. She watched Marcus and Lily. They were quieter than usual. Marcus, she said, can you come here for a moment? He walked over, hesitant. Your mother, Eleanor said, choosing her words with care. Did she ever write things down? Did she have a book or papers? Marcus thought. She had a small blue notebook. She wrote in it sometimes, at night, but she took it with her when she left. Did she ever tell you what she heard? The bad thing that made you run? Marcus shook his head. Just that a powerful man did a bad thing, and she saw it, and he couldn't know she saw it. She said his name once, when she was crying. Kroger. She said, Kroger will kill us if he finds us. He said the words flatly, as if repeating a lesson. Eleanor's heart ached. We are going to stop him. Ethan is helping. Why? Marcus asked, his eyes full of doubt. He hated us. He was wrong. Now he sees the truth. Sometimes people need a chance to fix their mistakes. Later, Eleanor did not go to her separate sitting room. She brought her book into the living room and sat in her chair. Lily was drawing on the rug. After a while, Lily stood up. She walked to Eleanor. She held out her latest picture. It was the same house. The woman with long hair was still outside. But now, the woman was drawn with a small smile, and the line around the house was darker, thicker, like a strong wall. Eleanor smiled. It's a very strong house, she said. Lily pointed to the figure with silver hair inside, then poked Eleanor's arm gently. Yes, Eleanor whispered. I am here, inside the walls. Marcus watched from the doorway. He saw his sister's small gesture. He saw the old lady's soft smile. He walked into the room and sat on the sofa. He didn't hide. He just sat there, in the same room with them. The big quiet house was not quiet anymore. It hummed with purpose. Phones rang in another room as Ethan made calls. Lawyers planned. Security men walked the grounds. And in the heart of it, in the living room, a new kind of family was learning how to be a team. The mission was to find Sarah and stop a criminal, but the real change was happening right there in the simple act of sitting together, no longer alone. The call came late in the afternoon. Ethan was in Eleanor's library, looking at maps of the city. His phone buzzed. It was Mr. Riggs. I found her, the detective said, his voice clear. She's in a town called Millbrook, about 2 hours north. She's using the name Susan Jones. She's working at a small diner. Ethan stood up. Is she safe? For now, she's scared. She jumps at every loud noise. I didn't approach her. I waited for your call. Good. I'm coming up there. Tonight. Ethan hung up and turned to Eleanor, who was listening closely. We found her. She's in Millbrook. Eleanor's hand flew to her chest. The children, should we tell them? Not yet, Ethan said. Let me make sure she's okay first. Let me bring her back. Eleanor nodded, her eyes bright. Bring her home, Ethan. The drive to Millbrook was long. The town was small, with one main street. The diner was called the Star Cafe. Through the window, Ethan could see a woman with long brown hair wiping down a counter. She looked thin and tired. He walked in. A bell jingled. The woman looked up. Her smile was automatic for a customer. Then it faded as she saw his suit, his clean shoes. Her eyes became careful. I'll be right with you, she said, her voice soft. Sarah Johnson? Ethan asked, keeping his voice low. The woman froze. The cloth in her hand stopped moving. She looked toward the back door, her body tense to run. My name is Ethan Vance. My grandmother is Eleanor Vance. She lives in Chicago. She has Marcus and Lily. They are safe. Sarah's face went white. She grabbed the edge of the counter to steady herself. How do you know those names? What do you want? I wanted to help you. May I sit down? She stared at him for a long minute. Then she gave a small, sharp nod. She led him to a booth in the back corner. She sat across from him, her eyes never leaving his face. Tell me, she said. Her voice was a whisper. My grandmother met Marcus in a store. He helped her when she was embarrassed. She learned he and his sister were alone. She took them in. They have been living with her for weeks now. He saw the doubt in her eyes. Marcus hides food in his dresser. Lily has a stuffed rabbit named Orelhas. She does not speak. She draws pictures of a house with a woman outside. A tear rolled down Sarah's cheek. She believed him. Are they really safe? They are. But they are not safe for good. Not while Thomas Kroger is free. He is still looking for you. His men have been to shelters asking about a woman with 2 kids. Sarah put her face in her hands. I was so scared. I had to leave them. I thought if I ran, he would follow me and leave them alone. You were brave, Ethan said, but now we need your help to stop him for good. Did you write down what you heard? Do you have any proof? Sarah wiped her eyes. She took a deep breath. Yes, I have a small blue notebook. I wrote down everything that night when I got home. The date, the time, the names he said, the amount of money. I hid it. It's in a bus station locker in Chicago. Here's the key. She pulled a small, safety-pinned key from her pocket. I've carried it every day. Ethan took the key. It felt heavy. This is it? This is what we need. He leaned forward. Sarah, will you come back with me? The children need you, and we need you to give this evidence to the police. We have a lawyer. We have security. We can protect you now. Sarah looked around the small, safe diner. Then she thought of Marcus and Lily. Her face changed. The fear was still there, but it was mixed with a fierce hope. Let me get my coat. 2 days later, everything happened fast. Ethan and Mr. Riggs got the blue notebook from the bus station. Franklin, the lawyer, took the notebook and Sarah's statement to the police. The police investigated. They found the bribed city official, who was scared and confessed. They found the money trail. Thomas Kroger was arrested at his office in the middle of the day. The news was on television. A reporter stood outside the big glass building saying, "Prominent businessman Thomas Kroger taken into custody on charges of bribery and conspiracy." In Eleanor's living room, they all watched. Marcus held Lily's hand. Sarah stood behind the sofa, her hands on their shoulders. Eleanor and Ethan stood together near the window. Sarah let out a long, shaking breath. It was over. Eleanor turned to her. "Now," she said gently, "they have waited long enough." Sarah nodded, tears in her eyes again. Ethan drove her to the big house. As they came up the driveway, Sarah looked at the huge stone building. They lived here? It's just a house, Ethan said. She made it a home for them. The car stopped. The front door of the mansion was already open. Light poured out onto the steps. Sarah stepped through the front door and into the hall. She saw the high ceiling, the shiny floor. Then she saw the 2 children standing at the foot of the stairs. Marcus's mouth was open. Lily's hands were clenched in front of her. For a moment, no one moved. Then a sound came from Lily. A small, choked gasp. "Mommy?" It was the first word Eleanor had ever heard her speak. Sarah dropped to her knees, her arms open. "My babies!" Marcus and Lily ran. They crashed into her, their arms wrapping around her neck. Sarah held them so tight. her whole body shaking with silent sobs. Marcus buried his face in her shoulder. Lily kept saying, "Mommy, Mommy, Mommy," in a tiny, wet voice. Eleanor and Ethan watched from the doorway. Eleanor's vision blurred with tears. She saw the three of them, a tight knot on the floor of the grand hall, and her heart felt too big for her chest. After a long time, Sarah pulled back, wiping her eyes and then their faces. "Let me look at you. Marcus, you've grown. Lily, your braids are so pretty." "Marcus does them," Lily whispered, her voice hoarse from disuse. Sarah smiled a wobbly smile. She looked up and saw Eleanor. Gently, she untangled herself from the children and stood. She walked over to Eleanor. "Mrs. Vance," Sarah said, her voice full of emotion. "Thank you. Thank you for keeping them safe. Thank you for giving them a home when I couldn't." Eleanor took Sarah's hands. They were thin and strong. "They kept me safe too, my dear. They gave me a home as well." She led everyone into the kitchen. It was the warmest, least formal room. Maria brought out cookies and milk. They sat around the big wooden table. Lily climbed onto Sarah's lap and wouldn't get off. Marcus sat close beside her, leaning his head against his mother's arm. "What happens now?" Sarah asked, looking from Eleanor to Ethan. "Kroger is in jail," Ethan said. "The evidence was strong. He won't be a threat to you ever again. You are free." "And us?" Sarah asked, holding Lily closer. "Where will we go?" Eleanor looked at the three of them together. She saw the way Marcus finally relaxed, the way Lily kept touching her mother's face to make sure she was real. "You will go nowhere," Eleanor said, her voice firm and gentle. "This is your home, if you want it. There is more than enough room. You are family." Sarah's eyes filled with fresh tears. "We can't ask that of you. You are not asking. I am offering. We are a team now." Eleanor looked at Ethan. "Aren't we?" Ethan nodded. "We are. All of us." Later, they moved to the living room. The afternoon sun came through the windows. Lily got her crayons and paper. She sat on the floor between her mother and Eleanor. She drew a new picture. It was the same big house. But now, the woman with long hair was inside. There were 4 figures inside now, the silver-haired one, the 2 smaller ones, and the mother, all under one strong dark roof. The house was not quiet. It was full of sounds. Sarah's soft voice telling a story, Lily's quiet questions, Marcus's laugh at something Ethan said, the clatter of Maria making a bigger dinner in the kitchen. Eleanor sat in her chair and looked around. She saw her grandson, who had learned to use his strength for protection, not control. She saw Sarah, a brave woman who had finally reached safety. She saw Marcus, a boy who no longer had to hide food. She saw Lily, a little girl who had found her voice again. The huge, empty mansion was gone. In its place was a house full of life, full of mess, full of people bumping into each other and saying, "Excuse me." It was not perfect. It was not always quiet. But it was, for the first time in 80 years, truly full. Eleanor Vance was not just rich. She was at last rich in the only way that mattered. She was home.